Morning. Good morning. Uh, well, actually, actually, so Midnight Charlie Man, Patrick here, Patrick Kieran, and good morning. I so I all right. Today, okay. So I have actually I have been excited to speak about San Francisco, and I have been so excited to speak about my trip to San Francisco, and I started to film it in my head but I thought, look, I spoke about Las Vegas the other day. Now, when I got back to Hollywood from Las Vegas, and I think a few days later, or a couple of days later, I went to San Francisco by coach, but I made a huge mistake. I should have got the day coach, and I should have got the day coach. And what happened was, okay, so what happened? I got an overnight coach. I wasn't really thinking straight at the time. I got an overnight coach, and I didn't see anything. And a few people said, "Oh, you got the day coach." I said, "Oh, I got the overnight coach." They were like, "Oh, no." I said, "You've got to get the day coach to see everything." I got the overnight coach, and I realised I couldn't see anything, and I missed it. They said, they said it costs more, but you see everything. And the overnight coach, it was dodgy. It was not exactly comfortable. For some reason, I felt like I was in the twilight zone. And on the way up to San Francisco, I had bought the Walking into Clarksdale CD, Page and Plant. I bought it from Hollywood, one of the Tower Records. I think I bought it from Tower Records. Anyway, this is back in the day of the CDs. There was no iPods there was no iPods about then. So I had my portable CD player. I remember that I had a portable CD player, and I had headphones. And on the bus, Midnight Charlie Man, Patrick here, Patrick Kieran. Hello, B. Hi, B. Hello. And what happened was, I took that. I was listening to that record, and I was listening to the CD. I think I may have had a couple of I could have had a couple of other CDs with me. But I was listening to that album, and then I took it out, but it slipped and it fell on the floor. It must have rolled under my seat or something. Now this is the really weird part. I reached down. I took a few moments to reach down to get it, and it wasn't there. It was gone. And for some odd reason at the time, I don't know what it was. I was very reluctant to look behind me. There was a few people on the bus which just seemed rough around the edges at the time, and there was a few other guys in the bus, and I don't know what happened. But that CD, I looked for the CD, I looked for it underneath my seat, I looked for it underneath the seat, gone, it wasn't there, it was simply gone. One of them must have picked it up. In a usual situation, they might say, "Hey, this is yours. Hey, excuse me, you've just dropped." Nothing like that happened. I dropped the CD, gone, never saw it again. And in that particular situation, I didn't feel like. In that particular situation, I didn't feel like getting up and saying. "Excuse me, have you seen my CD?" Somebody told me not to do that. I just didn't do that. And there just were a few guys on the bus which maybe wanted to be very aggressive about the situation. I don't know. I get up to San Francisco, And San Francisco was a wonderful world. I was very excited about being there for the first time, and this is in 1998, and I can't remember where the bus stopped. Now I think there's a place in San Francisco where everything like a junction, and the bus would have stopped there, and then I don't recall anyone picking me up from the. I don't recall anyone picking me up from the bus terminal. I walked to because I had already pre-booked a hostel. I'd already arranged that. I'd pre-booked a hostel. And I walked up there. It was early in the morning. I walked up there, found the hostel, walked in, and I thought to myself, and then for some reason I thought to myself, oh, it's come up from Hollywood, from Los Angeles, from Los Angeles, and I thought, I didn't feel like being in a packed hostel at the time. I didn't feel like being in a packed hostel for some reason. I just wanted a bit of quiet time. Anyway, so I had a bit of anxiety. I walked in, and I said to the guy at the front, I said, it's Patrick. I said, I have a booking. And in those days, they didn't ask for 20 points of ID or anything like that. It was 1998, and he said, I think I showed him my license, my driver's license, and I can't remember what the exchange details was, but it was very simple. And he said, oh yeah, right, here you go, here's your room. He said, I don't know if he said he would be showing me six others, I don't know. I walked upstairs, and there was no one about. I was like, that's a bit unusual for a hostel, there's no one about. I walk upstairs, I think I was on the second level. It was a big place too. I think it was on Disbadero. I should have looked at my map of San, which I do actually semi-regularly. I semi-regularly look at my. I'm also go to Los Angeles when I go on Google Maps. But Disbadero, I'm going to look that up when I go back upstairs on Google Maps. Good old Google Maps. It was actually Market Street. This is a site went upstairs, checked Google Maps, had a look. That was Market Street. I'm very certain that I was staying on Market Street. I walked upstairs to the second floor. Big old-fashioned building it was, and the whole thing about San Francisco is it had a very 70s feel about it. Had many flavours to it. It had a few different feels to it. Very old city, very in a time warp of itself. It's its own time. It's a city unto itself. Very unique, very old. Felt very 70s when I was there. 70s, 80s. That's how it felt. So I'm in this big building. There's no one about. I thought that was a bit unusual. In fact, first I thought I got the wrong building. I'm like, certainly going to be backpackers and all that, and I thought there'd be partying going on. There was nothing. And I'm like, okay, get up to my room. I thought there's probably going to be a few people in there. I'll have to just deal with that contaminant. Open the door, no one in my room. I'm like, I walked in, I'm like, oh. It's like, oh. And I was like, everyone's gone now. So I walked in, I looked around, I looked at and no luggage anywhere, no sign of anyone being there. And I'm like, surely I don't have room to myself. I mean, it's fantastic if I do. So there was about 6 bunk beds in there. Wait, 2, 4, 6. There's about 6 bunk beds in there. I'm like, got this room to myself. That's fantastic. I need a bit of downtime just because the other hostels I'd been in, the Banana Bungalow, Hollywood was full of people, and they were good people. There wasn't any problems there. It just was full of people, and it was fully, like 98% booked out, and it hadn't been a problem because the people had been okay, and everyone goes off and does their thing during the day anyway. There hadn't been any problems. There's just a lot of people there. This one, there's nobody in this room. I thought that was fantastic, and that was really, I had some down alone time, which I kind of needed. I did need at the time. Now, I get very adventurous, and very excited. If I'm in a new city, I get very excited. Back in those days anyway, I'm still a bit like that. I would have started walking straight away. I can't remember exactly, but back in those days, I would have left straight away to walk the streets. I don't think I would have just, I would have stayed in the room for a while to chill out. I did that, yes, but then I went downstairs. Look, let's just throw in some creative license here. Look, let's, I don't know if I did this, because some details are very vague now, but I might have said to the guy at the cloak, I said, hey, this is good. I said, this is good, there's no one about. And he said, quiet, he might have said to me, quiet period. He said, we're usually full, quiet period. Got us in a quiet period. I'm like, oh. I don't know if I said anything to him about it. I mean, I really don't know. All I know is there was no one about, and I thought that was, I don't know what I thought at the time. Just know that it wasn't anybody in there. So I started to walk the streets, and I thought it was fascinating. And had my daily backpack with me, had my camera, which was not this, no, I was going to say it wasn't dissimilar to this at the time. There was no autofocus at the time. Back in 1998, you didn't have autofocus. I had an older camera to this. Don't know what brand it was. It was a black camera. Yay big. It's probably at home, a parent's place. I probably still have it in my drawer where doohickeys and thingamajigs end up over the years. But I don't throw things out. I still have my first mobile. But I'm going off track. Now, I must check the recording. Last check. I'm going to check the recording. It's recording. Okay. It's recording. I walked about. I walked down the streets. I thought everything was fascinating. Took in the smells. I was observing the people as I always do. I was really, and there's no but to this. I was just really enjoying it, there was some day. I stayed in San Francisco for 7 days, and there were some days where it was quite sunny and nice, and there were some days where it was overcast. And I found the Haight district, Haight Ashbury district, which felt really hippie. And someone said, and also I was around a few conversations. There were some locals. I met some locals there. Oh, that's right. I was on a bus. I was getting up on a bus up to the Haight district, and also in between that there's that circular road. I found that, and I was there for about 5 minutes. I don't think I went out of my way to look for it. I was just walking up a particular street, and I was like, oh, there's the. So I gave my camera to a local. I said, can you please take my phone? I'm just actually, wait. I brought this down. Oh, I think I have it. I think I actually have it. I might do. It might be here. Should have these things pre-prepared, Patrick. Oh, here it is. Look. Yeah. Do you see that? I'm holding it. That's it. Oh, I should have taken those photos out first. I put the loose ones in. Let me just pick those up. I'm getting a tad warm. The moving blankets and this light, which is pounding me in the face, is I'm heating up slightly. That's on about 80, and it's this sort of just heating me up. Okay. Now, so I found that street, and then this photo is funny. Actually, I'll tell you what happened with this. This photo is funny. See the middle picture there? The middle picture? See the middle picture there? me on the other side of the road. What happened was, I gave this local, I did speak a little differently back then. I think we changed the way we speak as well, we go through more life experiences, but I could maybe talk about that another time. I've spoken about it. Anyway, nonetheless, there was a local person, and I said, excuse me, can you please take my picture? Can you please take my picture if I just stand over here? Well, I think he thought that I was going, he thought I was just going to stand like 6 feet away. And I started walking across the outside, bro. He's like, hey, come back. Don't leave without your camera. I think I gave it to a local. He's like, don't leave without your camera. Hey, man, don't run away. I walked all out the other side of the road. I was like, I thought that was a bit funny because he's like, hey, man, where are you going? Yes. And so I did that, and then I walked up that street. And I think and I actually did walk up that street. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere. San Francisco's beautiful old architecture about it, and everything that I had seen in the movies, like about San Francisco, everything that I had observed in the movies was the same but better. Taking in all the different smells and the aromas. It was the same, but it was just an extension. It was better actually being there. It was marvellous. It was wonderful. And I got on a bus, a local bus, went up to the Haight District. As I'm getting off the bus, this girl says something to the driver, and I'm like, that accent, oh, she's an Aussie. And I approached her. I think we got off the bus and I said, excuse me, I said, hi. And she said, hello. And I said, oh. I said, you're Australian? She said, yes. I said, oh, I'm from, I think I was under the impression we were going to hang out for a while. I was quite happy not to, whatever. I was just doing my own exploring. She was about maybe a year older than me. And I said, I'm from Sydney, Australia. She said, oh, good for you. I said, where are you from? She said, Queensland. She said, look, I'm going to go now and meet some hot American guys. Bye. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I got on with it. And that didn't stay on my mind. I just had remembered it as a funny thing, as a funny occurrence over the years. And I thought it was funny. I was like, oh. And I just got on with my thing because I was very excited about exploring town. So she went that way to meet her hot American guys. Is someone knocking on the door? No, there's someone knocking on the door. Might put this in. So that day, right? That day, the girl got off the bus, and I said to her, I said, oh, I'm from. I said, she said, I said, I'm from Sydney, Australia. She said, good for you. I said, where are you from? She said, Queensland. Right. So I'm going to go and find some hot. I'm going to find some hot American guys. Have a nice life. Goodbye. And without even a chance for me to respond, she left. And I'm like, it wasn't quite like I do in head. I was like comprehending what she said. She was like, I'm off to find some hot American guys. Have a nice life. Goodbye. And as I was thinking of a response, she was gone. And I'm like, and then I got on with my day. I was like, I'm going to get on with my day. And and so I proceeded to walk down the Haight Ashbury, the main street there, and with excitement. And there were quite a few locals there. I remember going into Tower Records there. For some reason, I was a little bit preoccupied at the time with CDs and things, and you know, if I was to redo that, I would have just spent much more time on walking the streets, meeting people, and a lot less time in CD stores looking for. Because at the time, I was still looking for Led Zeppelin bootlegs. And I was just looking for CDs but you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Went to the Tower Records. Think I bought a few CDs, and bought a few CDs. Felt you know, really jazzed about that. And I did. I got a few CDs, and I think, oh, in San Francisco, I rebought Walking into Clarksdale. I bought it again. Plan page, Walking into Clarksdale. I bought it. I still have that copy. It's at home at my parents' place. What was I going to say was, I walked the streets. I can't remember how many people I interacted with, but I did hear a few conversations. It's a little bit vague now. I went into the different stores. I'm a fast walker, but over there I was walking fairly slow. And I'm pretty well, to an extent. I mean, I can be a fast walker, but when I'm in a place that I'm excited about, I walk around slowly, just observing. There's a big park there. I may have sat in that park for a while. What I did was, I just walked everywhere. I had my map. That's right. Yes. I have a bag at home. And still got all the things in it that I used for that trip, like all the maps and all the pamphlets that I received. I've still got it. I kept everything. And I had a map in my hand. I know these days everyone uses their mobile phones. Everyone uses their mobile phones. Where am I? I will admit, Sheila gets me out of a lot of trouble. Turn left at this corner, otherwise I'd be... Remember the old days of the maps in a turn to page 38. G7 meets M2. Turn to map 52. G7, J3. Oh, right. And the young generation would remember those days, would they? Younger generation won't remember. The millennials don't have a clue. So, I had my map in my hand, and I was doing this, and I was doing my best not to look like a tourist. Doing my best not to look like a tourist with my backpack, my camera, and my map. And so I had my map, and I was walking the streets very happily. There were a few people about. It was a friendly atmosphere, and however, I think at some point within my first 2 days of being there, a local near my hostel, a guy said, "Don't go near the tenderloin, man." And I said, there was a couple of us, and he said, "Don't go near the tenderloin." And I said to him, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay." And well, that was probably a Texas accent. Anyway, so I'm walking around and I'm following my map, and so I'm going down toward the Golden Gate Bridge area. And I'm down, and I eventually do get down to that area, but I walked around quite a few of the streets and thought that I did think it was fascinating and interesting. I was looking at the architecture and crossing paths with a few locals that didn't necessarily say hello to me, but weren't aggressive to me in any way, just going about their day-to-day business. And I was just observing things and walking around, and it was probably sunny because I wasn't cold. I was wearing my long sleeve shirt, but I wasn't cold. It was a really nice atmosphere. I get down to the Golden Gate Bridge area, and a guy comes along his bike. comes along his bike. He says, "Hey mate, hire out a bike, easier." And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "I like to walk." He said, "Yeah, get a bike." I'm like, I didn't get a bike. I didn't get a bike. Not into riding bikes very much. When I was a kid, I had my push bike when I was a kid, because I grew up with a push bike and Donkey Kong instead of playing PlayStation 3 and World of Wars or whatever it is people play. I rid my skateboard down the street on my bicycle, but I'm off track. Okay. I get down to the Golden Gate area, and the Golden Gate area was really good down there. And I took it. Oh, I've got some pictures of the Golden Gate area. I did. Picture time. It's now picture time. oh, see, this is just a random. Oh, I don't know the name of this street, but this is a street, and I'm for certain that is going to run out of memory soon. So I just walked all over the place really. I just explored. I was very excited about it. All the different pictures I took. But I got down to the Bay Area, the Golden Gate area. I'm trying to find, there's a particular picture in here. Oh, did I pass it? I skipped it, did I? Oh no, here it is. Look. Look. See? Oh, it must have been cold. It was my leather. That's my leather jacket. Oh, it must have got cold that day. It must have been cold. That's the beach. Not much of a beach. That's actually considered a beach, but so there we go. And it was. What they consider there? Well, it is considered. I think they consider it a beach. I'm not too sure. Not much. It wasn't much of a beach. Nonetheless, it was extraordinary to be there. I really enjoyed it. Okay. I just want to check on this. I have to make sure that I'm going to come around here because I'm going to make sure we're on record. We are on record. And that was terrific. And I did that. That was a day. And I returned to the hostel that night, and I'm thinking there's definitely going to be somebody in the hostel. I returned to the hostel after my day's adventure, and after being very satisfied, taking photos, met a few, crossed paths with a few locals, very good. Returned to the hostel, and I thought, I can't remember which day it was, but I had the room to myself for a couple of nights, and then the guy turned up. This guy from Texas turned up. He had issues. He had some things in his life that were going on, and he was a bit intense. And he didn't get much peace. Oh, it's vague now. He was telling me about his troubles. So I've just came from Texas. He said, I got problems with my family. He said, I got this and I got that. Anyway, but he had some issues going on at home, and he was relating those issues to me. And I suppose at the time I hadn't had all those experiences in life that I've had now. I can't remember if I tried to help him. Oh, I was just like, yes, oh, that doesn't sound too good. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound very good. And that's, oh, it's, I think I was trying to have a bit of empathy with him. But he was relating a lot to me, and I thought he was intense at the time, because I just wanted to relax. And then I think he went off to do his own thing one night. I can't remember. He spoke for about an hour, and I was in San Francisco for 7 days, and throughout those 7 days, I had one roommate, this guy. But to my recollection, half the time he wasn't there, because I think he was trying to organise alternative accommodation. He was like, I'm just trying to survive. I'm out here trying to survive. And that's fair enough too, fair enough. He was trying to get by, trying to survive, and he had himself up in a hostel. And I told him things about Sydney, Australia. Back in the day, oh, you're from Sydney, Australia. Oh, wow. And so I related quite a few things. We related quite a few things about Sydney to him. I don't remember much of our conversations. But it was really intense, too intense for me. No one else turned up in that time to the hostel. Maybe saw one or two other people when I was very quiet at the time. Alcatraz. Oh, there was one particular night. I went down to the Bay Area. I'd like to where the wharfs are, all that. I went up to this as well. This had happened in Las Vegas. This happened in San Francisco as well. I went up to this tower, to the top of this tower, to the observation deck, and I was up there for a while. And I think I had a conversation with someone for about 20 minutes, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been another woman, a woman that I had a conversation with, and after that time she said, "It's very nice to meet you tonight. It's been lovely speaking with you. Have a really good night." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And so I had another conversation. I didn't really run out of memory. What happened was, it was recording for more than 15 minutes. I think it just shuts down. It says, "Pat, I'm sick of listening to you. Bye." Shut down. That's what happened. I was at the wharves, and there was this arcade section. There was this, not a theme park, it was an arcade. Because I was on, not on leave, I'd taken off from Sega World Sydney at the time. I said, I'll be back in 3 weeks going to America. And at the San Francisco Wharf, they had this arcade, like, I remember Time Zone and Intensity at Hurstville. They had them all over Sydney. Well, this wharf had something which was very similar to that, and they had something there which we had at Sega. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And there was this girl who was a similar age to me. She might have been a year younger. And I said, "How you doing?" She said, and she was very, she had a lovely personality. She was very nice. And I said, "How you doing?" I said, and she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Sydney, Australia." She's like, "Oh wow." She's like, "Oh wow, that's great." I said, "Hey," I said, you working?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah." Well, obviously, she's got a uniform on. So she just goes there for the hell of it. You know, dark humour aside. Dark scenario aside. Look, I said, this particular ride here, we've got this at Sega World. I had this, operate this. Can't remember what it was now. But whatever it was, we had at Sega. And I was like, and I something similar. I made a connection with that, and I said, "I work at Sega World Sydney. I work here at Sega World." And I explained it to her. She's like, "Oh, wow." I said, "We've got this. We've got this attraction." And I spoke to her for about, and she was genuinely excited about it. I probably met a few Aussies because many Australians pass through San Francisco, and so she probably talked to many people, and we spoke for about 10 minutes or so. And I was a bit, at the end of it, because those were back in the day, I didn't say, "Can I get your Facebook?" I had pen and paper, and I said, "Hey," I said, "Hey, if you'd like to meet up again," I said, "Well, it's been very nice talking to you, and if you'd like to meet up again, or if you'd like to talk again." I had enough confidence in that moment, and she's like, "Sure." She's like, "Okay." And she got a pen and paper and wrote down her name and her number. I didn't follow it up. I didn't follow it up. I was a bit naive in those days. I didn't follow it up at the time. I don't know why. But, and I was like, got her number. And so I got her number, and I carried on with my day. There was lots of seals at the bay at San Francisco, the wharf, lots of seals. I thought, it was like Circular Quay, except very different. How does that make sense? Really different, like, it was like seals. And to me that was weird. I was like, huh? What if I think seals at Circular Quay? No. And I think I said, "There's lots of seals here." They said, "Oh yeah, the seals." I said, "I'm from Sydney, Australia. At Circular Quay we don't have seals." They said, "Oh yeah, no, you wouldn't get those in Sydney." And so I don't remember what I did for the rest of the day. I was there for 7 days, had a great time. I did go to Alcatraz, and I was very excited about going to Alcatraz. So I went out to Alcatraz. Escape from Alcatraz, one of my favourite movies. And I went to Alcatraz. I'll tell you what, fascinating place. I thought that, and just because it's one of the first movies I ever saw, and it's a favourite of mine over the years. I wish there was maybe like, I wish there was some extended version of it, because I'm sure they did some more filming. I'm sure there's more footage. And this is the different pictures I took. the different pictures I took. Yeah, I thought it was terrific there. Why am I not taking any pictures of the cells? I don't know why. Okay, so that guy that was in the hostel in the room, in the hostel with me, that guy from Texas, I'm fairly certain he was from Texas, he was intense. He was just intense, and he was having trouble in life, and he was relating his problems to me. And fair enough, okay, and I was listening to him, and I was empathizing with him as much as I could, but it was draining me a bit. It was very intense, and I was just wanted to chill out and relax, and he wasn't really allowing me to do that for the most part when he was there. He'd leave of a day, and because he's in survival mode, he was leaving for the day, looking for a place to live. Fair enough. Oh, I get it, I understand it. Yep. But it got to the point where after about 4 days, it got to the point I was like, that's it, I'm leaving. And I didn't go to a different hostel. Very, very certain I didn't do that. I can't remember what happened. It might have been the day I was leaving, and I just thought I'll leave early and just wander the streets. But I thought, he left. And like 5 minutes later, I'm like, that's it, get all my stuff together, pack all my stuff, I'm checking out before he gets back, I'm just going to disappear. I'd had enough. It was just a bit too much for me. It was very, very intense. And I thought, I just can't deal with it. And so, got all my stuff together, packed all my stuff, and I left. And as I was walking down the stairs, he comes up the stairs. I was like, oh, busted. He was like, where are you going? And I'm like, I was a bit like a deer in the headlights. I was like, he said, you're running away from me, huh? You're running away from me. You're running away from me like a rabbit. And I was like, he's like, you're leaving, aren't you? And I'm like, I ran. I walked past him briskly, and he's like, you're taking off. He says, run away now, bye. And I'm like, yeah, and he said, you're running away. And I'm like, busted. Oh my gosh. And I was like, oh, I don't know what I said to him. And he's like, running away. You're taking off, aren't you? He said, you're taking off. And I got it. And so, I'm walking down the stairs. And as I'm walking down the stairs, he's coming up the stairs, and I was like, oh, busted. And he's like, where are you going? And I'm like, he's like, where are you going? And I'm like, I don't think I answered him at first. He said, you're leaving, aren't you? You're running away? And he said, you're leaving. You got all your stuff together. You're going. You're trying to take off. And I said, I was like a deer in the headlights. And I was like, oh, busted. And he was like, where are you going? Are you leaving? He said, you look like you're leaving. And I'm like, I don't know what I said, but I brisked past him. I just not ran, but he said, you're running away. He said, I think you're leaving. And he said, you're leaving. And I can't remember if I said anything else to him or what else I might have said to him. Maybe something in politeness. And I went on my way, and he may have said a few other words to me. I had to get, and I left because it was too intense. And so yes. And where do you think you're going? And I thought, right, that's it. I'm going. But I had a lot of the details, but some of the details I didn't have so accurate. And when I was watching it back upstairs, and just there were the aspects of the story, I'm like, that's not quite, it's not quite right. And mainly that the guy who I said was from Texas, he may not have been from Texas. He was American, just that he may not have been from Texas. He might have been from another state. My memory on that was vague. and I'm just going to, because I've been thinking about this, and thinking, what was the truth of the situation? What did he say? Which is vague now. He went downstairs. I'd had enough. I packed all my stuff up. I packed it all up. I opened the door. There was a sort of just area, top area, and then there was a staircase. I'm walking down the staircase. He's walking up. And I'm like, oh! I'm like, it's stunned. I was like, busted. And I sort of did this, like as if he wouldn't recognise me. And I had my backpack with me. And he was like, at first he didn't say anything. Now I'm just trying to remember what actually happened now, because I've been thinking about this. At first he didn't say anything. I think he thought, I'm just walking down the stairs. And then he must have seen I had my backpack on and I was packed. Because he said, he looked at me, and then I said, are you leaving? I can't remember the exact words he said, but he might have said, are you leaving? And I don't know what I said. I might have said something like, oh no, I'll be back. I might have made an excuse. And he said, you're leaving. He said, you're leaving. And I said, I don't know what I said. And then he said, you're leaving, aren't you? And then I think he got slightly aggressive about it. He said, what are you doing? And then I can't remember what I said in that moment. I really don't know. And then he said, you're leaving, aren't you? You're leaving. So you're running away. And then I briskly walked past him and downstairs, and he said something else. Words were exchanged, indifferent to semi-aggressive. Semi-aggressive, I didn't say too much. I might have been polite to him. And it was like, you're leaving, aren't you? And then what happened was I might have spent the rest of my day wandering around San Francisco, or I think I might have found a bar or two to sit in at the time. But I don't remember that. That's what I remember of that situation. And I did leave. I left that. I left that situation. Alcatraz. Look, it happened at Alcatraz or back in Los Angeles. I can't remember which one. Those group of people that I had evaded in Las Vegas, who had said the next day, I said, where were you last night? Where did you take off to? We looked everywhere for you. I think at Alcatraz, they come up to me at Alcatraz, I was like, hey. They said, where have you been? I'm like, oh God, we can go through this again. And I said, what do you mean? They said, we drove up from Los Angeles to here. We rented a car. Well, that was with the same girls now. Whatever. It was a group of them. I said, we rented a car. We drove up here. We looked out for you on the way. We looked at it. We're looking for you. I'm like, I told back in Hollywood. I had said to them, I'm angry or something. That's not, Oh, because whenever I spoke to them, I get this anger. It frustrated me so much. I said, oh, I'm going to hitchhike to San Francisco. Let's go hitch it. Because they were organising all their plans and stuff. And it just irked me. And I said, I'm going to hitch it to San Francisco. And they went, oh, okay. He said, we looked for you along the road. We were looking for you the whole way to see where you were. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. They're looking out for me. And I said, you know what? They said, you could have joined us if we could have talked about it. You could have joined us. And I was like, oh, yeah, no thanks. And they're like, oh, your choice. I was like, yeah, it is. And they said, yeah, I don't think there's a group. I'm like, no. And he said, we make group decisions. I'm like, I know you do. I know you do. And yeah. And I'm like, oh, I got the coach. I went, oh, you could have told us. I'm like, no, I don't answer to you. And then they went on their way. That might have taken place at Alcatraz. It might have, or it might have taken place back in Los Angeles, because I did talk to them again. It was either San Francisco or Los Angeles, but I can't remember. Oh, Alcatraz, right. So there was many people. The day that I went there was many people around, and I'm not that fond of crowds. and I saw inside the cells, and they were very small. Thought they were I thought they were fascinating. I thought they were interesting, and I stood in one, and I suppose after a while you get the sense of claustrophobia, and there's no privacy. And the thing is, I would have preferred to explore a place by myself. Not good with the group thing. And when there's all these other people around, I can't get the sense of the place. I can't get a sense of it. I need to be by myself to get a sense, or just with one or two other people. But there was many other people there that day, and I wasn't by myself, obviously, because there were groups of people. And I got a bit of a sense of the place, just that there was other people around me, and it's just like I said, I had the place to myself, probably. But I did get a sense of it. I've got an idea of the place. It was great it was really good to go there. I'm glad I saw it. One of the highlights of San Francisco for me, and it was terrific. If I just had a bit of alone time there, just a bit of because when everyone's around, it's different, and that's exclusive tour. Yes, 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 yes.